Howdy guys, Mac Double Tap. So, kind of want to do a bug out for beginners or bug out bags for beginners video. Like I said in one of the last video when I reviewed that the V-Locks from 3V Gear. Since this whole coronavirus thing has started, I have just been inundated with email questions, and I mean the views of my old bug out bag videos went up a staggering amount. So there's no way I can get through all this in one video, so this is going to be a little bit of a series, I guess. Some updates, some of the old staples that I'll never leave, some thoughts and all that. I mean, you guys know I normally just go off the cuff. I even wrote down myself a little cheat sheet because there's so much of it here that I don't want to miss. It's important. So let me start at the beginning. Bag selection. So if you're going to select a bag, the first thing you need to know is, what is your plan? Is it a true bug out bag? Are you going to grab this bag, head off into the woods, and that's going to be your only means of survival for X time frame? Is it a go bag that you're taking to go somewhere else? Is it a get home bag like I keep in my truck, which is meant for me to get home if something should happen to my truck or the roads are impassable or whatever? So that's the first question you have to ask yourself, is what are you going to do with your bag? And set it up accordingly. Now, forever, this little bag right here was my get home bag, and it suited me just well. This one's made by Eagle Industries out of Missouri. It's a great bag. I've still got it. I'll still use it for something. So this, I could pack everything I needed into it that I thought, if I was 100 miles or so from home and I needed to walk home for whatever reason, that I could grab this pack, leave my truck, abandon my vehicle, and head home. So that was that. Well, then the next thing that I went to is, I had this pack for a bug out bag, and it was an Amazon-ish bag, and it's not a bad bag. The biggest problem I have with this bag are, A, the pockets are mounted to it, and B, there's just the one big chamber inside. So it wasn't very handy in that everything had to come out of it for me to get to the bottom. I mean, there's a little side strap and all that, but if you had to know where it was. No MOLLE straps, which made it very inconvenient for lashing things to it. So it didn't take me long to decide that was a no-go. The next pack I went to, and this was my get-home bag or my bug-out bag for a very long time, was good old-fashioned Army pack, Army rucksack, and it served me just well for a very long time. I mean, it's got some different, but again, big compartment. I mean, it's got the ability to add some MOLLE packs, but just wasn't the solution I was looking for. So if you haven't watched my video on this 3V Gear get home bag, I call it, you can go back and watch it. I'll put a link. That'll be the first link you run into in the description. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going over this. This is ultimately not much different in size than what is going to be my new bug out bag. And I just tore everything out of it. I'm updating everything that came out of the Army pack. So that made me stop and go, okay, I just need to do a very comprehensive video series. So one of the things you really need to think about are you in the country already? Are you leaving the city, headed to the country? What's the purpose? Are you going to throw these packs in a pickup truck or a car and try and make it? And this is supposed to be the stuff for when you land, wherever it is you're going. I mean, what's the purpose of your bag? That really, truly is the first thing you need to ask yourself. The next thing you're going to have to come to terms with is you can't put everything, including the kitchen sink, in these bags. You just can't do it. So, for me, where I live in rural Pennsylvania. So, there's very few times I would ever be in a position where I could not basically take both packs. So, have everything that's available to me in this pack, and then that pack for basically the concept of longer stays. So I have a 2-bag bug out bag concept. So that in and of itself is a handy little concept. Let's set this down for a little bit. There's no point in just holding the camera so you can see it. So that's one of the questions you have yourself. Are you going to truly have a bug out vehicle? I have a 4-wheel drive pickup that can go through a lot. It's got big monster winter tires or mud tires on it. And I mean, I can go all back roads. There's a lot of stuff I can do with it. Is your vehicle a vehicle that is limited to highway travel? Do you have a small car? Do you have a low-to-the-ground car? Things like that. These are things you need to consider. The main highways are what will get congested first in a truly bad, whether it's chemical attack or, whatever. Depends on what you believe is going to happen as to what you're going to do. I think this became a little bit more realistic for everybody now that with the coronavirus thing, and people are starting to rethink their ideas. The odds of you having to make an immediate grab it and go evacuation, that truly is limited to a few things. Some people will say hurricanes, but with a hurricane, do you really not know it's coming? I mean, I do. I don't even live by the coast, and I can always tell you when there's going to be a hurricane that hits. But, that is really another concept. Now, whatever plan you have, you should have 2 more. If that's plan A, you should have plan B and C. For me, plan A is take both of these packs and be able to head out on the road. Plan B is condense both of these packs into 1 pack. Therefore, the secondary larger pack cannot be crammed completely full, because there's things I will want to take out of this and add to that. A lot of it will attach to the outside of it. But that's where these modular systems, man, these modular systems rule. If you look at this pack, all these are MOLLE accessible. There's places to hang MOLLE all over this pack. So I will have empty MOLLE bags, which I've got a bunch more on the way, just hanging on it, ready to add things from this pack into this pack. So that is a very important aspect of it. Can you really, condense down from 2 to 1? And, I believe I know I can. So that's my plan B. Plan C is I have to abandon all of it, or a big chunk of it, for the sake of speed. Now, with that, this bottom pack, being MOLLE, will come off, and it's a little shoulder bag. Plan C is, oh my God, things went horribly wrong, and I have to abandon my bag. Plan C could also be, and I'll show you, probably not so much in this video, but as we go through the building of this pack, And it really, for me, is the building of 2 packs combined. And I'll kind of get into that later. Another question that you need to ask yourself is, what's your team size? Whether your team is your family, whether your team is, you and your neighbors, or, a couple good friends or whatever. Because there's a lot of stuff that one person has to carry, but you only need one of, like pot and pan set or things like that. So more things to consider. You should never, ever, you should always approach everything under the guise of 2 is 1, 1 is none. So you base your concept of, if you have one, you probably don't have any. If when you need it, it'll be lost, broken, won't work, battery's dead, whatever, reason it is. So, redundancy is handy without the risk of, you can't have too much, because, ultimately you need to be able to throw this stuff on your back. Now, these 3 gear packs are really handy in that they got a carrying handle. So I can put one on my back, tote this one by its handle, and off through the woods I can go. Is that a very fun way to move through the woods? Of course it's not. But it is an available means. So what any pack has to have, no matter what you're setting up, are what's known as the 5 C's of survival. If any of you guys remember, I don't know that he's credited with it. I don't know that it was truly his idea. There was a guy that did dual survival. His name was Dave Canterbury. He's from Ohio. And he's credited with coming up with these 5 C's. I don't know that they're truly his, but maybe they are. I want to give credit where credit's due. But the 5 C's are a cutting tool, cordage, cover, combustion, and a container. So you need a container, first of all, that can carry water over periods of distance. These hydration packs, like the Velox has in it, are great, but they're not super durable. You can, accidentally rip, tear, cut, whatever. It's not. Are they a value-added addition to a pack? Of course they are. But like with me, my number one choice of water carry is still good old-fashioned military canteen. And there's a couple reasons for this. One, and notice I store them open and empty. Don't ever store them with water in them. The water will get stale, it'll taste like shit. But I have good old-fashioned military canteen. I can carry a quart of water. The next thing I have inside here is a stainless steel cup. Canteen cup, right? The canteen cup has many, many advantages. One, it's stainless steel, and I can put it in the fire. I can, boil water if I need to sterilize water. I can use it for soup bowl. I can use it to cook in if I need to. This right here, honest to God, is probably, next to a knife, the most important thing you can have in your pack. A good stainless steel cup. So I very strongly believe in the military canteen. It's just a quart of water. You can get water sterilization tablets, put in this little pouch here, and even if I have to abandon all else with the Alice clips that are on it, I can put it on a belt. So that's my first and always. Now, if a pocket knife is not part of your everyday carry, it should be. That is always one knife. I don't go. If I've got pants on, I got a pocket knife. That really is something that's easy for guys. It's actually easy for women too. It usually doesn't, fit their dress attire, but knives are everything, man. And as I go through this, you can do a lot with a knife. So on the Velox here, I have my readily accessible, this is a Glock field knife. And then on the new pack, which I should remember the name of this new pack. I don't. Let me look it up real quick because I don't want to be an idiot. Starts with a P. I'm sorry, I should have known. I should have been ready for this. The Paratus 3-day operators pack. That's what the big one is. I think I'm saying that right. P-A-R-A-T-U-S. Paratus. Anyway, on that, I have a military M9 bayonet. This actually serves a couple of purposes. One, combined with the case, I have a wire cutter on it. This is a big, ugly, dig on things, pry on things. That's what these both are. Neither one of these is meant for fine cutting. I can chop, I can whittle, I can, baton them, hammer them down through things. There's just a lot of options with these knives that you don't want to do with your fine cutting edges. So there in and of itself is why those knives are on the outsides of my packs. Easily accessible, can grab it, go. Cordage. There's something in here. I've got cordage everywhere. 550 cord. And I've got some other 550 cord that I'm now going to be carrying on Daily 2A. I'll show it to you. These are typically 7-strand. 550 cord typically has 5 little white cords in there. I've got some really cool new 550 cord that I found a source on that not only has the standard 7 strands, but it also has a true piece of fishing line in it. It has a piece of cotton thread for sewing, and it has a piece of wax jute twine in it, which is great for tinder. It's waterproof tinder. It is, if you're truly using cordage for survival, it is huge value added, huge. Anybody that's ever tried to actually fish with the wire from 550 cord knows that, or with the cords out of the 550 cord, knows it's not that easy. It's pretty hard to make it sink. It's great if you're just trying to fish on top of the water because it floats pretty well. But that's why this survival 550 cord, true survival 550 cord, has a piece of just monofilament fishing line in it. And but we'll talk about that later. Combustion. If you don't carry, I don't smoke, but I carry a lighter in my pocket all times. Have it every day. It's part of my EDC. And I use it all the time in day-to-day life. Bic lighter go a long way. Is it the only combustion you should have? Absolutely not. And as we go through the packs, you'll see I have ferro rods everywhere. Let's see. Boots, holsters, jackets, pants to wear out the door. This pack will have a complete change of clothes in it, along with a set of sweatpants, just cotton sweatpants, cotton sweatshirt. Help me be able to keep warm if I need to. I actually just pulled them out of the other pack and I had them sealed. I broke the seals on them, wanted to, check them and make sure that they were, A, still fit, because I put them in there a long time ago, and B, I'm going to just wash them again they're out of the pack. I mean, they've been fine. They've been in vacuum sealed packs, and kind of like these socks, actually. Just vacuum sealed packs. I'm sure they were fine, but I had it apart. I might as well redo it. The one package had a pinhole had gotten into it, so it had air into it. So I just decided to cut them all apart and do it. Now, this was going to be a point for later. Remember, when you start vacuum sealing clothes, especially stuff like a sweat suit, basically, keep in mind, you are pulling all the air out of it, so you're shrinking its volume exponentially. You take them out of those waterproof packs and use them, you're going to have more space to deal with to get them out. So, is it okay to pack your packs full? Absolutely. But remember, you take this vacuum sealed tiny little roll you made, and that's why I tend to roll mine up and vacuum and seal them. So they still shrink some, but they still maintain a lot of their volume, or a good part of it, so I don't end up hurting myself out in the woods where, okay, I changed clothes, now I got to get my old clothes into the bag, and then I use that sweatsuit to keep warm. Now I got to get it into the bag, and I don't have any room for it. A jacket. In the best case scenario, you would wear your jacket with you, but that's not always great. When in doubt, if you're going to have a jacket, you need to be able to fasten it to the outside of your pack. A, you can get to it quickly, but B, it's not space being taken up inside the pack. Boots are huge. Probably the most underrated thing. If you are ever going to intend on walking, you need a good pair of solid boots that will truly support your ankles. Most people aren't out running around and used to having, 60, 70, 80 pounds of pack on their back. So ankle support's huge. Now, I have been walking every day with this pack. I'm up to about 6 miles. And I can tell you, without a good pair of boots. Now, we are definitely into the Amazon lifestyle of get whatever you can get the cheapest off Amazon. Your boots should not be the cheapest shit you can find on Amazon. It just shouldn't. Lalo is a boot manufacturer. I'll put a link to them in the bottom. They have engineered boots. They actually scientifically engineered these boots. They are the best combat/duty boot I think I've ever felt on my feet. Those are my go-to boots. If I'm going to walk out the door with the intention, I don't know if I'm ever coming back to my home, I'm going to be wearing them boots. Excuse me. I don't think I have corona. What I do have is allergies. Then if you're loading up in a car, one other thing you might want to consider is a soft rifle case. Let me go grab one. Well, maybe I won't grab one. Thought I had one in here. The discreet rifle cases. I mean, everybody in the gun world knows their rifle case, but they should not be horribly, painfully obvious that that's what it is. I mean, a hard plastic rifle case, everybody knows that's what that is. I thought I had one in here handy. Anyway, so that is, in general, what you kind of need to get ready. Are you going to be taking a long gun with you? Yes, no, maybe. That's, comes up to your situation. You guys have all seen the DeWalt grease gun. That's the gun I carry in my truck. It's a AR pistol, 10.5-inch barrel AR pistol that I immediately have access to. It will always be with me. So I do have a long rifle, and I have ammunition for my long rifle in this pack. But, are you going to leave and take a 16-inch barrel gun? Are you going to, and we'll talk about that here more in a minute. So the next thing you need to bear in mind is communications. We are in the cell phone age, and everybody usually has, the ability to communicate pretty easily. What happens if the cell towers are down? Now, I'm not saying they're always going to go down, but what happens if you end up in an area where there is no cell phone service, which is all over northwest Pennsylvania, let me tell you. But, am I going to take my iPhone? Of course I am. And you really should have a means for a couple of charges. These little battery packs. This one is, oh god, 25,000 milliamps, something like that. Milliamp hours. It's I can charge my phone off of that like 7 times. So that's a handy little thing to put in your pack. I have some other stuff I'm going to show you in the other videos that I don't want to get out now because I'll get on to talking about them. But, you know, you need to have cords. You need to have more than one cord. Everybody knows that cords break. So if you intend on charging your iPhone, I would have no less than 2 cords. They don't take any space. They don't weigh anything. There is another thing that I'm not ready to, don't want to break into. A little hand crank, battery charging, flashlight radio, and when I say radio, I mean AM, FM, NOAA radio, that you can hand crank, have light, hand crank, have power to charge your things. Great tool. There's a great one on Amazon. There's a very inexpensive one on Amazon that I bought, and it's garbage, which I'm now waiting on a replacement for it. But my new one that I have here, I'll talk about later. But it's like $45, and it's one of the best pieces of kit you can put in the thing if you're battery dependent. So, kind of on that subject, it makes sense to have all of your electronic type items in your packs, or the most you can, that are USB chargeable. Now they make these USB chargeable little flashlights. There's so much that's USB chargeable now. I mean, it's almost these little handheld GPS units. There's so much that you can do with USB charging. To not have a little hand crank, all I got to do is add muscle power to it and I can charge it. Gear in your bug out bag just doesn't make sense to me. Batteries are outdated as far as replaceable batteries. And when in doubt, good set of alligator clips with a 12-volt car plug, cigarette lighter plug with a dual outlet charger. That way, if you come across the vehicle or a battery, you can even charge stuff off of. If you know what you're doing, you could even pick up a D battery or a AA battery and get a little bit of charge out of it. So that's an idea. On the other side of the communication things, again on Amazon, and I've been through a couple of these, the Baofeng, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, little handheld walkie-talkies, but they're not just walkie-talkies, they're ham radio. They cover a pile of frequencies. You can pre-program all of your local and federal frequencies into it, like your police and fire and all those into it. The only thing I'm going to warn you about, don't get caught broadcasting on them. Get your ham radio license, do all that the way you should do it. When in doubt, follow the law. We'll leave that at that. But, the little handheld ones have a range person to person. I mean, I've had mine out and been talking as much as 3 miles from each other through the woods. So, even a set of walkie-talkies that you buy on Amazon for your immediate team or family are value added. You can get a set of Motorola's, for that are USB chargeable. You can get like 3 of them for, I think they're $60-80 on Amazon. I'll put a link up to them too. They're pretty cool. We used them, we tested them. You don't have the range I wish you had, but it's something better than nothing. That way, if you have to split up to, get firewood, whatever, with your kids or, whatever reason, you're still in immediate communication. And they do have a good 6, 8, 10 hour battery life. So, and they're USB chargeable. That's page 1. So, I am, boy howdy, 30 minutes into this. I'll tell you what, I'm going to cut that video right there, and that's the beginnings of the idea, the beginnings of the concept. Go ahead and look for part 2. I'll have a link to it down in the description, and in part 2 we're going to talk about the importance of some first aid. Appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.